Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're going to dig into the latest from the big player in surgical robotics. They just released their Q3 2025 numbers and held an investor presentation.
Yeah, lots to unpack there. We're looking at the financials, sure, but also their strategy, especially with the new Da Vinci 5 system rolling out.
Exactly. So our mission here is to kind of quickly get you up to speed on what's driving their growth, how fast things are being adopted globally,
Yeah.
and what's actually new and exciting about the tech itself.
Right. It's about understanding the forces shaping this whole field right now. And if you want that quick insight into robotic surgery's health and direction, well, this is the conversation for you.
Okay, let's kick off with the big number, the one that really sets the scene. Worldwide procedures, and that's combining Da Vinci and the Ion system. They grew about 20% in Q3 compared to last year.
20% year over year at their scale.
Right.
Well, that's pretty impressive. Shows just how much momentum there
It
is.
really does. And the money follows the volume,
Yeah.
right? What did the top line look like?
Uh-huh. Total revenue hit $2.51 billion for the quarter.
Billion. Wow.
Yeah, $2.51 billion. That's a solid 23% jump from the $2.04 billion they did in Q3 of 2024.
23% revenue growth.
Okay.
And profitability. How did the earnings per share look?
Also strong, the non-GAAP diluted EPS was $2.40 per share,
$2.40, up from...
up from $1.84 a year ago, so a healthy increase there too.
And just quickly, that non-GAAP figure, why is that the one people often focus on?
Well, non-GAAP usually pulls out things like stock compensation, amortization of intangibles, maybe some one-off items. It's meant to give you a clearer view of the, let's say, core operating performance of the business itself.
Gotcha. Kind of the underlying engine.
Exactly. So that $2.40 tells a pretty positive story about core profitability.
Okay, now let's break down that revenue. System sales get headlines, but the real consistent driver seems to be the instruments and accessories, right? That tells us how much the installed robots are actually being used.
Absolutely. That's the razor and blades model in action. Instruments and accessories revenue jumped 20% to $1.52 billion.
$1.52 billion, just from the bits they use in each surgery.
Precisely. It's directly tied to procedure volume. When they sell a system, it doesn't just sit there, it generates this ongoing high-margin revenue stream. That's the backbone.
And the system sales themselves, the racers.
Still very strong. Systems revenue was $590 million. That's up quite a bit from $445 million last year.
Okay, but you mentioned two systems earlier, Da Vinci and Ion. Are they growing at the same rate?
No, and that's a really interesting part of the story. The main Da Vinci system procedures, they grew about 19% year over year. Still really solid for a mature platform.
19% is great, yeah.
But then you look at Ion, that's their platform for things like minimally invasive lung biopsies.
Right, the endoluminal stuff.
Exactly. Ion procedure volume grew by approximately 52% year over year in Q3.
52%. Wow. Okay, that's huge.
It is. It really signals that Ion is carving out its niche fast and, proving the company can launch successfully beyond their core surgical robot.
That makes sense. Why bother with Ion if Da Vinci's still growing almost 20%? Well, that's why. It's a major growth engine in a different space.
Definitely a successful diversification move. And looking forward, they seem pretty confident about Da Vinci too. The full year 2025 forecast is for worldwide Da Vinci procedure growth of about 17% to 17.5%.
A tight range.
Oh.
Suggests they have a good handle on hospital adoption trends.
Yeah, seems like it. High predictability there.
Okay, so the money side looks very healthy, driven by more and more procedures. Let's shift gears and talk about the physical scale. How many of these robots are actually out there in the world?
It's kind of staggering when you look at it. The total installed base for Da Vinci systems, it's now over 10,000.
10,000, really?
Yep, 10,763 systems globally as of the end of September. That's up 13% from the year before. Just think about supporting that many complex machines worldwide.
Over 10,000. That's incredible leverage. And what about Ion? Still smaller base, but growing faster.
Exactly. Ion hit 954 systems installed, but that's a 30% jump year over year. So you see hospitals are definitely buying into that platform too, and quickly.
Shows real commitment. Okay, let's talk placements. How many new systems went out in Q3?
They placed 427 Da Vinci systems in the quarter.
427, up from last year.
Yep, up from 379 in Q3 2024. But what's really interesting, I think, for understanding their market strategy is how these systems are getting placed.
You mean the financing, leasing versus buying outright?
Exactly. Of those 427 placements, 231 were under operating leases.
So more than half.
More than half. And get this, 115 of those leases were usage-based.
Usage-based. Explain why that's such a big deal.
Well, it massively lowers the upfront cost barrier for a hospital. Instead of needing, a couple $1 million in capital right away, they can essentially pay based on how much they actually use the system.
So it aligns cost with revenue generation for the hospital.
Precisely. It turns a huge capital expenditure into more of a variable operating expense. Makes it much easier for some hospitals, maybe smaller ones, or those in tighter budget situations, to adopt the technology.
So it's basically a tool to speed up adoption and penetrate the market deeper. Very clever.
It really is. And if you look at where the procedure growth is happening, it paints a clear picture. In the US, general surgery is a big driver, up 19% year over year. Think hernia repairs, gallbladder removals. Robotics is becoming standard there.
Okay, so strong in U.S. general surgery. What about outside the U.S.?
Outside the US or OUS, the growth in non-urology procedures was really impressive, up 31% year over year.
31%.
Yeah. Historically, urology was the main thing internationally for them, but this shows really strong expansion into general surgery, gynecology, thoracic surgery, and so on in global markets.
So they're successfully moving beyond their traditional strongholds, both clinically and geographically.
Definitely. And this all ties into this idea of customer standardization. Hospitals moving from just trying it out, adopt, to making it work efficiently, operationalize, to making it the standard way they do things, standardize.
Right. Are we seeing more hospitals reach that final stage?
We are. The data point they shared was that the number of hospitals globally with 7 or more Da Vinci systems.
7 or more. That's a serious commitment.
It is. That group grew about 6% year over year in Q3. It means these large institutions are really building their surgical programs around the Da Vinci platform.
Okay, fascinating. Now, let's pivot to the big news, the thing driving a lot of the current buzz, the Da Vinci 5.
Yeah.
The DV5, this was flagged as a key priority for 2025, right? Getting it launched fully and cleared in different regions.
Absolutely. This isn't just a minor upgrade. It's positioned as a major leap forward. And even the initial phase 1 launch last year showed huge interest.
What were those early numbers?
Let's see. 362 DV5 systems placed already. Over 32,000 procedures done on them across 40 different types of surgery. And they've already trained or onboarded over 2,500 surgeons onto the new system.
Wow, okay. So immediate uptake. What are the surgeons actually excited about? What are the killer features? Let's start with force feedback. Why is adding touch back into robotics such a game changer?
It's arguably the single biggest advancement. Before DV5, surgeons were mostly relying on what they could see, how tissue stretched or deformed on screen. They didn't actually feel the resistance.
So they were kind of flying blind, haptically speaking.
Pretty much, yeah. They developed workarounds and relied on visual cues. But the DV5 console actually transmits the tension and resistance from the instruments back into the surgeon's hands.
So they can feel how delicate tissue is or how much force they're applying?
Exactly. Dr. Sambacci described it as a massive transformational improvement, precisely because it brings back that sense of touch. Imagine suturing really fine tissue, feeling that tension makes a huge difference for precision and, potentially safety.
That makes total sense. It must boost confidence, especially for complex steps or maybe for surgeons still learning.
Definitely. And that leads nicely into the second big feature, case insights. This sounds like it's all about data and learning.
Yeah, what is Case Insights exactly?
It's essentially an integrated analytics platform. The system collects data during the surgery, things like how efficiently instruments are moved, how much grip force is used, variations in technique compared to benchmarks.
So it turns every operation into a data point for learning.
Right. It provides objective feedback. Dr. Michael Stiefelman said it's going to transform the way we teach the next generation of surgeons because it speeds up that learning curve.
How so?
Well, instead of just subjective feedback from a mentor, a trainee gets actual metrics. They can see, okay, I spent too long on this step or my instrument path wasn't efficient here. It allows for really targeted practice and improvement.
Like having a digital coach built into the system.
Kind of, yeah. Accelerating that learning is crucial if you want to scale robotic surgery globally. You need proficient surgeons fast.
Makes sense. Okay, there was also talk about efficiency and autonomy. Dr. Pamela Lee mentioned DV5 democratizes the bedside assist. What do you think she meant by that?
My read on that is that the new system has features, maybe better workflow, perhaps some automated steps, improved setup that make the whole process less dependent on having a highly specialized, experienced assistant right at the bedside for every single step.
So it makes the whole OR team potentially more efficient and standardized.
Yeah, potentially reducing variability and stress, making the process smoother. That feeds right into their goal of improving the care team experience. There is also positive feedback on improved vision and ergonomics, which are always important for surgeons doing long procedures.
Okay, so force feedback, case insights, efficiency gains.
Yeah.
These are clearly significant advancements. How does this all plug into their overall business model? Because the robot itself is just one piece, right?
Absolutely. The hardware is crucial, but the strength of the business is really that ecosystem and the recurring revenue. Remember we said 84% of their 2024 revenue was recurring?
Right, from the instruments, accessories, and services.
Exactly. Those instruments and accessories, they cost somewhere between, say, $1,000 and $3,600 per procedure.
Per procedure. Okay.
And then there's the service contract for each system maintenance, support, analytics access. That's another $100,000 to $225,000 per year per system.
Wow. So once a hospital buys in,
Yeah.
they're really locked into that ecosystem.
It's a very sticky model, and it includes not just the physical stuff, but also training, simulation, data analytics. It's comprehensive. And they tie all this back to their big picture mission, which they frame around the Quintuple Aim.
Quintuple Aim. Right. Let's connect the dots. How do these DV5 features specifically support those 5 goals?
Okay, let's take the first two. Better outcomes and better patient experience. Force feedback clearly plays here. More precision, potentially less tissue trauma. That should lead to fewer complications, maybe faster recovery times, potentially more surgeries done on an outpatient basis.
Makes sense. What about the care team?
That's pillar 3. Better care team experience. Improved ergonomics helps. Case Insights helps by making training maybe less stressful and more effective. And that democratizing the bedside assist idea fits here too, making the OR run smoother.
Okay. And cost.
Pillar 4 is lower total cost of care. This one's tricky, but the argument is that increased efficiency, fewer complications, shorter stays, and reduced variation could, over time, lower the total cost, even if the initial tech is expensive. Plus, Case Insights aims to reduce clinical variation, which is a big cost driver.
Right. Standardization helps control costs. And the last one.
Advance health equity. This is about access and education. The usage-based leasing helps lower the initial financial barrier to access, and the training aspect, getting thousands of surgeons proficient on DV5, using tools like Case Insights that's key to spreading the benefits and the expertise more widely.
So it all loops back to their stated vision.
Yeah.
Minimally invasive care is life-enhancing, aiming for care that's less invasive and, well, profoundly better.
That's the narrative, yeah.
Okay, so let's recap quickly. Q3 was strong. Overall procedures up 20%. Ion is just rocketing at 52% growth. The Da Vinci 5 is rolling out with features like force feedback and case insights that surgeons seem genuinely excited about, impacting precision and training.
And the scale is immense. Over 10,000 Da Vinci systems out there, supported by that very powerful recurring revenue model. It's a juggernaut.
It really is. Which brings us to our final thought, something for you, the listener, to consider. Their stated mission includes goals like lower total cost of care and advance health equity.
Right. Noble goals.
But the technology itself is undeniably expensive. We're talking systems costing, $10.7 million up to maybe $3.1 million on average, plus those recurring instrument costs of $1,000 to $3,600 per surgery.
Yeah, it's definitely a premium product.
So the provocative question is this. How quickly can this incredibly advanced, but also very high-cost technology genuinely bridge the gap to meet those goals of broad accessibility and actually reducing the overall cost burden of healthcare, especially in places that aren't major well-funded hospital systems?
Can this top-tier tech truly become mainstream and affordable enough to deliver on that promise of health equity globally? That's the fundamental tension, isn't it, between cutting-edge innovation and making it work for everyone, everywhere.
Exactly. Something to think about. That's all the time we have for this deep dive. Thanks for joining us.